Hey, it's Avi from JustRightMusic.com. Today we're talking about the mysterious art of arranging and how just a few tips, can help us orient ourselves amidst a ton of options. Usually a song starts off with a harmonic and a melodic component. I like to call this the song skeleton. And when we have this down and we have it recorded, it's time to start fleshing out the rest of the song. This is arranging. That's it. We're just taking our material and dressing it up with different instruments, rhythms, textures, and harmonies. Oftentimes, we'll also change some of the core components of the song itself, of the material, in order to make the song the very best it could be. That's all a bit vague and overwhelming, yeah? Yeah. Here's 3 tips to help you arrange your song, piece, or music thing that you want to do. The first thing I want you to do when you're thinking about your arrangements is to think like an EQ, or an equalizer. When we're arranging a song, we're in charge of every single component, every single part of it. Now in the audio world, audio engineers are tasked with taking a look at the entire frequency spectrum and making all of the sonic components and instruments play nice with each other. It's really common to hear words like low, mids, and highs. And this is exactly the way I want you looking at your arrangement. For example, we're usually going to need some type of bass instrument, as well as some type of rhythm section, like a percussion section, that's going to span the entire frequency spectrum. Once we have that stuff sort of figured out, we can start subdividing even further into low mids and high mids. What I love about this perspective is that it allows me to see what isn't there. And this is fantastic for when you need to write a new part or when you're trying to come up with a counter melody. We don't want it to get in the way of the other instruments, especially the vocals. We want it to sit in its own little sonic spot. All right, so that was tip number 1. The second arranging tip that I want to give you is play to your instrument's strengths. We want our instruments to sound good and sound like the instruments that they actually are. Every instrument has a range, and it's incredibly important to stay within that range, especially if you're writing in the computer. Case in point, a lot of mistake that beginners make is having an instrument play a passage that it is physically impossible for it to play. The proliferation of really high quality samples actually make this mistake far easier to make than you'd think. In notation software, there's often a color cue like this in Sibelius that tells you when you are out of range. In fact, Sibelius is pretty conservative about this. Take a look at the trumpet here. Like that high A, man, I was playing a high C when I was in high school. Like that high A is red? Really? Nah, man. No way. Could play that. Played that all freaking day. If the instrument isn't used idiomatically the way it would be used in an ensemble, it still runs the risk of not sounding good. Just because you spend a lot of money on the really fancy samples doesn't mean that your music is gonna sound that much better or even any better. Always be wary of the gear hole. The most important thing to invest in is always going to be your skill and knowledge. Gear is just a medium for that. Play to the instrument's strengths. Make sure you're using the instrument idiomatically. So finally, my third tip that I want to share with you today to help you get your head around arranging a little bit is to amplify the momentum. Here, we want to listen to what we have and follow the energy as best as you can. As arrangers, we're trying to make every instrument feel like it belongs. And the best way to do that is to give it a role to play. Our guide for that process of creating a new role for an instrument is the momentum and energy of the song or piece. When listening, try to hear what might help elevate the momentum, right? No matter what it's doing, how can we make that more dramatic, or how can we amplify that feeling? I find this best for figuring out what a specific section needs, or when doing some section arranging all together, like the big sections themselves. Maybe there should be more movement to help ramp up to a big chorus. Or maybe we need to strip everything out slowly as we fade away to the end. Sometimes we may need to take away everything all at once to establish something new. This takes a critical ear, and when you start to get good at it, your music seriously takes a big ol' level up. Once the flow of your song starts to manifest, things start to make more sense. The same goes for your music. You get better at learning how to make these instruments and these parts that you write fit together better. Listen for what the music wants. It's always trying to tell us something. We just have to learn how to listen sometimes. That's it. Boom. So there you go. Those are my 3 arranging tips to help you level up your music. These are all completely experiential, so the best thing that you can do is to just write and finish as much music as you can. Welcome to the part of the video where I tell you to go get a free thing that I made. Before the arranging process, we have to make sure that our melodies are top top notch. So I put together a free guide called 7 Ways to Write a More Effective Melody, which will give you like all the tools you need to make your melodies that top notch thing I just said. What? Yeah, that. These are like crazy easy, actually. Really actionable. You don't need to have a ton of music theory knowledge. Head to justwritemusic.com. Go ahead and get your free copy. There's a link down in the doobly-doo. Thanks so much for watching and hanging out with me today. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'm Avi from justwritemusic.com, and don't forget to be awesome.